What's up, guys? We're gonna have a pretty full NHL card today, a pretty packed card, and I do have one play in the NHL that I'm gonna throw in there in addition to my college football plays, which my video's up. Those college football plays, I think, are all still good. The market still looks like it's in agreement with me on those, and the number's gone down a little bit on Pitt, but I think you could probably still get the 7.5 on that. Not totally sure, but I still like all those sides for sure. I did mention the Missouri-Kentucky game. The market looks like it's kind of shifted on that, kind of in the direction of Kentucky. That is a tough game to read for me. I don't even know which way I would lean in that one at this point. Missouri's the way they lost to LSU, man. I mentioned that. I don't want to keep mentioning that because of how I lost that bet on that pick six right at the end. Absolutely brutal, absolutely insane. Maybe that puts Missouri in a worse spot than Kentucky is in. Just losing that game, I don't know how you get up off the mat after that. At least Kentucky, even though they got crushed by Georgia and sent crashing down to earth, at least that's kind of an embarrassing loss, and they looked bad like in the public eye. So I don't know. Maybe I would even change my opinion on that from what I said last time and slightly lean Kentucky. I don't know. That one is that's a tough game to call really at all. So I don't know, but the leans that I've been throwing out have been quite good. Like last night, I think I was 5-0 in the leans that I threw out in the video, and I'm just mad because it's like leaving money on the table. I didn't actually put any money on any of those. Maybe I was 4-1. It depends on where you got the Utah State number. If you watch the end of that game, Utah State. Really, I think they were the right side. They should have covered. That was a back and forth game, and Utah State retook the lead by 1 with like 4 minutes left. Then they gave up a touchdown. Utah State had scored really quickly. There was like no defense going on at the end of that game. They scored real quickly. Then Fresno scored even more quickly to retake the lead. Didn't get the 2-point conversion, so they were just sticking at a 5-point lead because of that. So that definitely helped with some of the spread bettors, I assume, because probably most people, if they took Utah State, weren't in on the 7, didn't get the 7. But I think the majority, like the consensus number at kickoff is probably 5 or 5.5. So probably a lot of people took a push or even 1 on Utah State there just because of the failed 2-point conversion there. And I think there was actually a penalty on the 2-point conversion attempt, like an offensive pass interference. So Fresno was not able to get it to go up 7. They stayed up 5. Then it looked like Utah State was going to score again at the end. They got past midfield into Fresno territory late. It looked like they were going to potentially score quickly again because their offense is pretty good, and they kind of run some weird like trick plays and stuff that Fresno looked like they were not ready for late in that game. But Utah State threw an interception. It looked like they were potentially going to get the game-winning touchdown at the end there. Interception, brutal way to lose that. And they had wasted a timeout shortly before that too, although it was like 40-something seconds left when they threw that last interception. So I think even if they had 2 timeouts, game still would have been over at that point. But that was pretty brutal. They covered the 5.5 or better. So I don't know. I don't know how you want to score that one, but people will score it as, whatever happened with their individual bet. So hopefully, again, it's the importance of that number. So hopefully if people are betting Utah State, they got one of the better numbers there and actually cashed it. And of course, Colorado Stanford. It didn't look like I was going to be right about that one. I don't know if I stayed up late and watched the end of that game. Nobody was paying attention to that game. Probably everybody went to sleep. It's late night on the East Coast. Colorado was up 29-0 at the half into the third quarter, and then I don't even know what happened, man. Travis Hunter was actually back for them too. I had said that I didn't really like the spot for Colorado, and I think they're just overvalued in general, but at home, double-digit favorite. I think they'd gone up to like a 13-point favorite by the time the game kicked off. You're up 29 in the third quarter, and then they just didn't. I don't think they scored again in regulation. They just let it completely slip. Let Stanford come all the way back. And a lot of Colorado's fans, I think, had actually left the game. Really loyal Colorado fan base there. Like a lot of people seem like they left. They're just like, this game is over. We don't care about football. We're a bunch of bitches. It's too late, even though That's out in Mountain Time. So the game ended at like 2:30 a.m. Eastern. So it probably ended what, like a little bit after midnight? Come on, you're in college. Don't be a bitch. You guys are out partying anyway. But maybe that's what they did. They wanted to go partying. We don't really care about football. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Boulder, but absolutely insane. It was the biggest comeback in Stanford history. They came all the way back, sent it into overtime, and then wound up winning 46-43, I think in the third overtime, maybe it was, on a field goal. I'm not even sure. Absolutely crazy. I've been saying since the beginning, Colorado is not as good as they look. Everybody was just completely hyping them up because they have Deion Sanders and because they beat TCU as a huge dog in week one. And now we see how great that win really looks. TCU doesn't look very good at all. So, yeah, just insane. One of the most insane college football games maybe ever in that one. Go watch the highlights of that one because it's crazy. And if you don't like Colorado, if you're like me, I was very enjoyable to stay up late and see that. Like, I was just looking on my phone. I'm like, wait a minute. Now it's 29-19. I might have to pay attention to what's going on in this game. Holy crap. Colorado, baby. Such an amazing team. They're a contender. They could have been a contender. All right, college football today. I mean, I might have a couple other leans, just kind of looking at the board real quick. I think Utah is in a pretty bad spot, even though they're coming off a bye. Going into the bye, they suffered their first loss against Oregon State, which was in a primetime game, I believe. Oregon State really dominated that game and held their offense like completely down. Which was a really good win for Oregon State. But I don't know how that would affect Utah mentally. I think that's going to hurt them mentally. I don't think it's like a dream crusher quite, really, but taking a loss with the competition that they have in the Pac-12 there with USC and Oregon still out there and whatever, that's not great for them. But if you look at their schedule, they have this really down spot here coming out of the bye. They have to play Cal, which is like, I don't know. Are you really going to get up for that game? Even if you're coming off a bye and you have extra time to prepare, they're coming off a big game. And I think they had a big game prior to that one as well. I think they had UCLA but right before the Oregon State. And now after this game, they have USC and Oregon as their next two games. So this looks like a sandwich to me with Utah. It's almost bettable, I would say, but the line was up above 10. It might have even been as high as like 13 almost, and it's come way down. And it looks like it's below the 10 now at like 9.5. I definitely lean Cal there, but I would only take 10. Like if you get the 10 or higher, I guess I would like Cal there getting all those points. But Cal, the one thing that maybe like gives me hesitation, I was on Cal last week. That was a big game for Cal, and they hung in there enough, I guess, in their game, which I don't even, that was against Oregon State. Yeah, that was a big game for Cal, and Oregon State was in a bad spot in that one, which is why I had Cal, plus the 9.5. Cal wound up losing by, I think, 15 or something like that, but they played fairly tough, hung around, they scored a lot of points, so that's the one hesitation. Cal is kind of coming off a bad game, a big game, where they put in a pretty big effort, but so it's tough to carry that over 2 games in a row. But then again, this is a big opponent that they have here. So I don't know. Who knows? But I definitely lean against Utah there because of the spot that they're in is quite bad. I would say it's a sandwich. So there's that. A couple other ones that caught my eye just because I was talking about them. I leaned to Cincinnati against Iowa State. Cincinnati's coming out of the bye. It looks like more of the money is on Cincinnati and driving that number up. I think people don't think that Cincinnati's any good. I think they're 2-3, but they're in the Big 12 now. They face some Big 12 opponents, and I know I said I liked them the last time we saw them against BYU. So they actually they played like a Friday night, I think, and then had a bye. So they have a long time off to prepare for this one, which I think is helpful because they went into that bye on the loss. That was the game they lost to BYU, who I don't think is very good. Cincinnati just fell way behind in that game, and they almost were able to come back. I liked Cincinnati in that one, but Cincinnati was coming off a fairly tough game against Oklahoma the week before that. So, put into that what you will, I guess, or take from that what you will. But I do like Cincinnati here. They went into the bye on a bad note. come out of the bye, and now they get Iowa State, who just pulled off an upset over TCU, who, as we know, TCU is not as good as we thought they were coming into the season. They were in the championship game last year, which I don't think they were actually the second best team last year. We saw, they got absolutely annihilated in the championship game by Georgia. I don't think TCU should have made it that far. I don't even think they should have been in the playoff field, to be honest, and I got shit for saying that, but that's just the way it is, man. The rankings aren't totally indicative of how good these teams actually are. So you can find value when the rankings say some team is like better than they actually are, but the odds are telling you that that's not really the case in reality. And I would trust the odds, the guys in Vegas who have way more money at stake than the people that are just putting out these ratings for like the AP poll or whatever. But all that being said, yeah, I think Iowa State, they're in kind of a bad spot coming off that nice upset. They hadn't looked very good. Their offense really isn't very good. They come off that upset over TCU. They could be in a slight letdown spot here. They have to go to unfamiliar territory to Cincinnati, who's new to the Big 12. Kind of an odd spot for them. And then for Iowa State and then Cincinnati, like I said, coming out of a bye that they went into on a bad note. So I think that helps. Lean Cincinnati there. And then there's Rutgers, Michigan State. Michigan State also coming out of a bye. People think they're in total disarray. They've had their coaching shakeups. The team looks like they really lack chemistry right now, but I think the bye can only help in that situation. You go into the bye on another bad note. That was Michigan State's game against Iowa, I think, where Michigan State was hanging around, and then they really let it slip. And I think they might have not even covered at the end of it. I think it was close to what the number was. They were a double-digit dog, and they wound up losing by somewhere around 10 points or whatever. But that's kind of a sour note to go into the bye, and I think the bye can only help a team in a situation like Michigan State is in there. So I think that will help them refocus. I think that's good for them. They get to play Rutgers today. Rutgers is a favorite, although I think they've gone down. I should have mentioned Cincinnati's a favorite too. So with the Cincinnati one, I'd be laying around 5 with Cincinnati, with that lean somewhere around there. It's kind of in the dead number range there. For Rutgers, I think their number is kind of in a similar range there. I think it might be 4.5 or something. If you can get obviously get the best number that you can if you're going to actually bet these, but Michigan State plus 4.5 or whatever it might be. I think that's a decent way to look in this one. Rutgers played last week, of course, and it was a big game for them against Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin, they're sneaky right now because they've been down a little bit, and it looked like they might be down again this year because they have they're trying out the new air raid offense and whatever, and they're known as more of a ground and pound type of team, so it looks like they're kind of adjusting to having a new style of offense, but they are 4-1 right now. They're still Wisconsin. They're a big name in the Big Ten. They have a good defense, whatever. That was get-up game for Rutgers, a pretty tough game, and Rutgers performed fairly well. They wound up scoring late, which was kind of cosmetic when they were down by almost 20 or something. They kind of cut it to the 13 range by the end of it, and actually got within the number on that. I think they wound up covering on that. But that's still, it's a big effort game for Rutgers. It's a tough game. They face a Wisconsin team that still has a physical defense, even though they've changed their offensive style. That's a tough game to come off of, and you get Michigan State, who nobody's really paying attention to, and people think are a complete mess, and they're coming out of a bye. I think there's value on Michigan State there. I would only look to Michigan State. Nobody was thinking Rutgers was really any good, and I still don't think Rutgers is really that good. They can play some defense, but that's the case there. That's the rundown on college football. Getting to the hockey play, because we do have hockey today, a big card. There's only one play that really caught my eye here, and that's this is what I do a lot, man. I'll be on a team one night, and then, because they're in a good spot and the situation dictates it that one night, and then I'll go right against them the next night because now they're in a bad spot. After they had a big game, we're in a good spot, now they're in a bad spot, and that's what I think is the case with Pittsburgh here. Pittsburgh is playing the back-to-back now. They're the only team, I think, that played last night that has to play today as well. It might be a night game tonight, though, so it would be worse for them if it was an afternoon game, but I don't think the NHL would do that to them. But they have travel, even though it's a short travel. Pittsburgh was in Washington last night. I got that game right, for sure. Pittsburgh dominated them. They blew the doors off of Washington. They went in, won 4-0, get in, get out. And now Pittsburgh had lost their first game of the season in an ugly way against Chicago, which really looked bad. Now they look good. They go into Washington. Washington might not be as good as we think that they might be, as good as they sometimes are with the name recognition that they get there. But still, that's a good win for Pittsburgh. It looks really good. They go in there and they beat Washington 4-0. Now they come back home, have no time off, and people are going to see that latest result and think, oh, all right, this is still the Pittsburgh team that we know that is good. They go in and win, by 4 goals, win easily on the road. Now they're coming home. People are going to think, well, Pittsburgh, obviously they just had a slip up in the first game. They're actually good. They must be value here, right? They're actually an underdog at home right after winning on the road like that. What's going on here? Well, what they have is they have Calgary coming in to Pittsburgh today or tonight, whenever the game is. And Calgary is indeed actually a road favorite. Calgary, I feel like they kind of just stay like a bit under the radar, like, because they never actually like make it to like, the big time. They never make that like deep playoff run, it seems, but they're usually like good, and they're usually like in the playoffs or like in the hunt, like somewhere in that range. They're usually like a pretty decent team, but people just kind of forget about it. Pittsburgh gets more name recognition for sure, especially like I think in the US especially they do. But we got Calgary coming in. They have multiple days off. They've played 1 game on the season, and that was a few days ago. And now they get to go on the road. So I think when you leave home, you have a couple days off to refocus, and you go on the road. That helps in a way and can focus you on hockey. So I think that's not a bad spot for Calgary to be in. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh has no days off. So Calgary has multiple more days rest than Pittsburgh does, which I think is a benefit. Hopefully it doesn't like make them cold or anything like that. I think it's 2 days off is what they have. It's either 2 or 3. Pittsburgh played, a pretty big effort last night and has to play again immediately and travel, even though it's just Washington, D.C. to Pittsburgh, which isn't that much travel, but still. The back-to-back, it's a rough spot for them. There is a reason why Calgary is the favorite on the road. To me, it looks like there's the market looks like it's good and in agreement with me. It looks like there's the ticket percentage on Pittsburgh, but the money percentage on Calgary there. So I laid Calgary minus 105. Anywhere in that range, I think I would take it. I would do it. I like Calgary. The Calgary Flames, the Flamers, they're hot. They're gay. They're Canadian. Calgary Flames minus 1.5, or minus 1.5. Calgary Flames, no, I'm not playing the puck line. Calgary Flames minus 105 money line. Go get it. Enjoy all the games. Let's get these football plays. Let's get those to cash as well. Hell yeah, let's do it. It's Saturday, baby.